welcome to another episode of the Pursuing Greatness podcast, the place experts share their wisdom on living well by mastering health, wealth, relationships, and spirit. Before we get started, I want to let you know that the best way to support the show is just to subscribe, like, and share this episode with your friends and family. Also, if you'd like to learn more about how to master life, check out our website at pursuinggreatnesspodcast.com. With that said, I hope you enjoy the episode. We have a very special guest with us today, so grab your pen and paper and enjoy the journey. All right, and we are live. Today we have with us Dr. David Clive Price. Dr. Price is a #1 best-selling author of Hidden Demons: How to Overcome Fear, Anxiety, and Addiction to Thrive in Crisis. David has spent decades living and working across the globe as a CEO advisor and life coach, helping leaders to achieve their full potential to develop mental and emotional resilience in new and challenging environments. David, thank you very much for coming on the show today. How are you?
I'm fine. It's my pleasure to be on the show, and thanks for inviting me, Gabe.
Absolutely. To get us started, why don't you tell everybody, who you are, what you do, and how you got started down that path in the first place?
Well, leadership and life coach. The leadership part comes from the times I spent working and living in different countries around the world. I worked for a very large bank as the chief speechwriter for a while in the Asia Pacific, living in Hong Kong, writing books about Japan and Korea, etc. I spent quite a lot of time in different Asian countries too, different European countries too, sorry. And I spent a year or so in New York and wrote my first novel about living in New York. So altogether, I've had a pretty kind of checkered and interesting voyage around the world.
Awesome, I love it.
I try to put all that into the books that I've written, as you mentioned, the 15 books. And more recently, books about working together with people of different backgrounds and different generations, bridging differences, etc. So it's all very much like what we call cross-cultural intelligence work. And then the most recent one is called, as you said, Hidden Demons, which is about mental health issues, in particular fear, anxiety, and addiction. So the story of Hidden Demons is pretty raw. I'm kind of proud of this book because I'm able to say fully who I am.
Absolutely.
Many books so far, you get parts of me in kind of glimpses, but you don't get fully me. But
Full
in
picture.
this one you do. Yeah. So there's a full picture, and I battle with hardships, like many of us do, especially in these difficult times, as I search for a way to self-acceptance, to overcoming alcoholism, fear of coming out as a gay man, way back in the 1980s, and finding my true love. So
that's one of the reasons why I liked, I was excited to have this conversation and talk about your book is that, especially now we kind of live in a, it's August 17th, 2020, and we're deep into COVID time. So we kind of live in an environment that breeds anxiety for many people. And so, I'm really excited to jump into your book and to kind of hear your story as you tell it.
Yeah. Recurrent anxiety, the uncertainty that we all face at the moment.
Yep.
I actually wrote the book before COVID, just last autumn. But then with COVID, I wrote a new foreword, and I've geared it, of course, to our current situation as well as my life story. So, and our life story, I think, is because it's about all of us really facing different aspects of depression and anxiety and etc. So the book focuses on your inner resources, really, what you can do to overcome adversity if you search within yourself. It explains that you have the life stories and experiences to overcome all mental health challenges if you tap into your true self, free from others' expectations and the past. Create a more abundant life and business. I show in the Hidden Demons book and method um, the good news that all of us have the resources within us to build a lifestyle that truly expresses who we are and where we want to go.
Perfect.
So
I love it. So, I mean, I myself have dealt with, anxiety, depression, at times in my life. So, I mean, it's a very relevant topic, especially to me, and I know to many others out there. You mentioned, I mean, the book kind of goes over what you can do to overcome, or what you can do to kind of overcome those conditions. And you were saying, it sounds like you don't even, you did it yourself. You overcame them, without medication or anything like that. And so you referenced, all the power being within yourself. So kind of take us to your own experience and how you were able to get through that.
Well, I wouldn't say I overcame it all by myself. I tried to find different forms of support in different ways, looking for quick fixes.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like alcohol in my case, or medication, antidepressants. At one stage, I tried those. So I tried to find different solutions, which are kind of like a temporary support just to get through, which is what I told myself. It was just to get through, of course, whereas they began to spiral. So, it's the, the source of the book is that you not only that you can look within yourself, and not only can you overcome the hidden demons that make you do things unconsciously, but there is a deep inner voice within you that you learn about in survival. You learn about in very dark moments. In my case, there were 2 suicide attempts. And I learned in those moments that there was some deep soul within me that brought me back from the brink. And it's that looking for this inner voice deep down, because the different layers of depression and anxiety, they can bury things. And the different layers of dependency in particular can bury things, so that we got self-fulfilling stories. But beneath all that, those layers, those hidden demons that we may not even be aware of, we don't know where these stories come from. We don't actually know necessarily whether they're there at all.
Yep.
But they may come from childhood. There may be some slights and disagreements from the past, but we don't remember the actual turning point when something negative turned into an unconscious narrative. This will continue to happen. This is what you deserve. Yeah, so it's only by uncovering these stories and tracing them backwards beneath the hidden demons that you can begin to change or see the stories for what they are. Perhaps they're fears, perhaps they're a source of anxiety, perhaps something that continues to undermine your self-worth. What triggers your anxiety or depression or stress? What have you told yourself will always happen in these circumstances? These self-stories are often hidden, which makes them more powerful and more difficult to challenge. One simple way to get them out into the open, as I write about in the book, is to try making a short list of the 3 most powerful stories you've told yourself about your life, and then ask yourself if they still hold true, or whether they ever held true. If the answer is yes, then you've got something to work with. And if the answer is no, then you already have a platform for change and growth. So they are the hidden voices. That's the way to get back to yourself.
Yeah. That's interesting that you say that, because I mean, in times when I was, battling some sort of, mental issue, be it anxiety, depression, whatever it was, I noticed that you're right. You get caught up in these stories, and the story doesn't really have to be related to reality in the moment at all. It just keeps running and running. And so the hard part that I found was, in order to get out of that story, you really do need to bring yourself into the present moment,
Yeah,
fully aware. But in that situation, it's just it's difficult to be present because the story keeps running, and it's just this river that just keeps flowing and flowing, and you can't really jump out of it, and you can't get that perspective. So you were saying, in order to uncover that story, in order to get that step back and get your perspective, you need to create lists of what the story might possibly be, and then kind of meditate or reflect on that list and see if it still holds true today, and if it does, what you can do to change it.
yeah. It's surprising. It's very rare that we sit back and say to ourselves, "Do I have any hidden story that I've not been thinking about for a long, long time? Is there something deep down that might be influencing what I do now?" So if we can find one, two, three, not a huge list of things, but one, two, or three, you'll find that maybe one or two have been enormously powerful
Yep.
in influencing or holding us back, indeed. Um, and as I show in the 6 life strategies in the book, it does depend on the moment. It does depend on living in the moment. And it depends on taking one moment at a time. So, you're not going to solve things immediately at the drop of a hat. But if you can try to live in the present, not in the future, and not in the past with those hidden stories, which we can't change anyway. If you can live in the present, I think this is the great stepping stone, and something that we can easily, give ourselves space to do, one day at a time, one step at a time.
Absolutely. No, I love that. And it's really difficult. I mean, the way that I see you're talking about limiting beliefs in the words that I use usually. And, I don't know, I find it really difficult, especially when you're talking about commonplace things like money. A lot of people, they worry about money and they stress about money. And being able to get that, I mean, it's something that is always here. And so being able to get that perspective and still stay in the present moment without projecting yourself into the future is, in my opinion, it's way easy. It's a difficult task to accomplish. Not projecting yourself into the future, especially with something that's always present, be it the surplus or lack of finances in a person's life.
But it's essential if you are to find a way through, if you are to find a bridge. Um, if you stop living in the future, if you stop all the anxieties about the future, or at least put them to one side and focus on this day, what does this day bring? Maybe a great deal of joy, excitement, surprise, all kinds of things, just this one day. And at the end of the day, to feel grateful for that, then you are starting to live in the present. And people that have a I don't know, a deeper underlying anxiety, often they don't realize it fully, how deep it is, and they also don't want to talk about it, which I think is one of the key things. Because if you can talk about it to somebody within your network, within your support, to build your own little support team, people hide away their anxieties, hide away maybe even more serious things, depression or dependency. But if you can find people that can share with you and support you along the way and share your vulnerability with, they will too. It might not be your very closest family. It may be a pal, it may be a colleague from work, etc. But you've got to build this little support network. I think that's absolutely vital, and live in the moment. These are some of the life strategies that I talk about in the book.
Awesome. No, I love it. I'm definitely gonna have to pick up your book because it sounds like something I'd enjoy. But I totally agree that having a support network and being able to kind of take your, your anxiety, whatever's happening in your head, and just take it out, and just being able to interact with somebody else and show them what it is that's going on in your head, kind of gives you that perspective, that reflection, to the point where you can kind of see like, okay, it's not as serious as I thought. I've been able to speak with this other person, and just being able to get it out. For me, at least, it often helps just to kind of abate the catastrophe that I had pictured in my mind. So I love that you mentioned that there.
Yeah. Avoid catastrophizing.
Easier said than done, right?
Yes, I know, but still. And if you talk with other people, maybe they also have had a similar kind of problem or challenge, or maybe someone in their circle, somebody close to them, has a similar kind of challenge. So, people like to share at the end of the day. They like to be vulnerable if you give them a chance. But
Yep.
unfortunately, in our perfection world where we've got to look fabulous for Instagram and for social media, and we've always got to present in corporate world. We've got to present the perfect, responsible leader kind of thing. It's difficult to share things sometimes.
Absolutely.
But a really successful leader will share their knowledge.
Yep. And actually, I'm going to use that to kind of transition into, you also do, leadership and life coaching. So kind of tell us, what are some main tips that you give, clients that come to you to improve their leadership in their business?
Well, COVID-19 has brought to the fore perhaps the biggest one, which is the continual complexity and continual uncertainty, continual volatility, what they call VUCA: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And there's plenty of that around in these parts. So what I work on usually with leaders is, in particular, VUCA, because not even before COVID, we were living in very, very volatile times. That's not all negative. There's tremendous progress being made in many aspects of business life and life in general. But we work on having a vision of moving with rapidity and flexibility to situations that are unexpected, such as I write about in my previous book called Bamboo Strong, which, as the title suggests, is all about leadership agility and readiness to innovate, readiness to share, readiness to move quickly, and to handle uncertainty. And particularly as the world continues to be, despite COVID, will continue to become more globalized. And one thing that we have discovered through COVID is just how global we are in many
Absolutely.
ways. Despite all the national precautions taken and the national, rules for how to handle it, we are living in an increasingly globalized world. So our ability to work together with people of many different backgrounds is going to be really, really important. In our international teams, in virtual teams, there's going to be a lot more virtual working, of course, too, across the borders, etc. So, it's a great state of flux. So that's what we work on a lot with leadership.
Yeah, I think it's both anxiety provoking and super exciting, because the future is I don't know, who knows what will actually happen once we're out of COVID. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we're nearing the end of the show here. It goes by so quick. So I have, with every guest, I always ask a few quick questions. One being books. I love books, so I always ask, what is your favorite book when it comes to business, and then general life wisdom?
General life wisdom. With regard to leadership, I would say any of the books of Marshall Goldsmith in the last 10 years. All of them have got something to teach us. And as far as life in general, the question was the second book was life.
Yeah, just any life wisdom. It could be even the Bible if you want. Yep.
Life wisdom. Well, there's just so many wonderful books to read. I wouldn't be able to pinpoint one and say that has given me everything.
No worries. Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey, moving on. We all know that habits they form the foundation of our life. What we do every day kind of creates who we are. So if you could pinpoint just one habit that contributed the most to your life, what would that habit be?
I think probably the habit of habit, i.e.
the habit of creating habit. I like that. Very meta.
Creating habit. And especially, I write a lot of books, so the discipline of having a habitual daily schedule. You write your 3 to 4 pages in the morning of 1,200 words maybe, and you edit in the afternoon, and that becomes a habit, right?
I love it. Yeah.
And it's much the same. The brain is a very strange thing. It just learns habits and unlearns them if we do different things. But I think the same with our mental health. We can learn new habits and unlearn the bad old ones.
Yep.
And the more that we practice these 6 life steps in Hidden Demons, etc., then I think the more we progress to a better life and a more abundant business.
I love it. And on that topic, if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Well, you can email me directly at david@davidcliveprice.com. And if you want to learn a bit more about my leadership strategies and about mental health, davidcliveprice.com is the website.
Perfect. So, that is David Clive Price, DavidCliveprice.com. If you want to reach out to David. And then his book is also, it's called Hidden Demons, How to Overcome Fear, Anxiety, and Addiction to Thrive in Crisis. If you want to get that, I'm sure you can check it out. It looks like it's the #1 best-selling author on Amazon.
Well, it's on Kindle at the moment. Yeah. So it's getting there. Yeah. So
perfect.
Right.
So
yes.
Yep. Check out Kindle if you want to get in contact with that book. Other than that, David, thank you very much for hopping on the show today and talking to us about your experiences and how to deal with anxiety, depression, and addiction. I appreciated your wisdom. I'm sure everybody else did as well. For everybody who is here on this journey with us today, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason that we do this. So again, the best way to support the show is just to subscribe, like, share with your friends and family. And we look forward to seeing everyone on the next episode. Thank you guys for sticking with us on another episode of the Pursuing Greatness podcast. I hope you got a lot of value out of that guest. Again, the best way to support the show is just to subscribe, like, and share with your friends and family. Also, check out pursuinggreatnesspodcast.com if you want to get more information about what we do and what we offer. I hope you guys have a great day and keep living in integrity with yourselves. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode coming shortly.